Hey YouTube, people know that tap water, with all its impurities, is electrically conductive. I can pass a signal through this tap water, which can then be heard using this amplifier. But what most people don't know is that flame can also be electrically conductive. I have two metal strips here spaced closely together. One side is connected to the signal generator, and the other side is connected to the amplifier. The signal generator is viewed on the upper trace, and the output to the amplifier is viewed on the lower trace. You'll see that the lower trace already has a little bit of signal at the correct frequency. This is due to capacitive coupling because I'm not using any shielded leads. As I heat up the two pieces of metal and pass the flame in between, you will hear the signal begin to get stronger and see the signal on the oscilloscope also gain in size. You can see the signal has grown quite a bit on the oscilloscope, and you may be able to hear the signal slightly coming through the speaker. When I remove the flame, both the signal on the oscilloscope and the sound will stop from the amplifier. In any material, electric current must be carried by charge carriers. In the water, these charge carriers are positive and negative ions, which are generally from dissolved salts. These positive and negative ions rush towards the plate or electrode of the opposite charge, conducting the current. However, in gases, most of the molecules are neutral. This is because the molecules in a gas are very mobile, and any positive and negative charges will tend to get together and cancel each other out. The butane flame in my experiment adds enough energy to the air to allow some of the electrons to break free from their respective molecules. This makes the molecules and their electrons mobile independently from each other, allowing them to carry a charge between the two plates. This conductive energetic gas is generally known as a plasma, which you may know from neon lights, fluorescent tubes, and lightning.
Well, I don't know about you, but I thought his take on water, even though he mentions water in this video, which has nothing to do with a flame and heating up two pieces of metal, his take on water wasn't too bad.
Well, because he actually says that water, along with the
impure or the salts, the dissolved salts,
mainly dissolved salts. Well, he was saying that you need a carrier within the water.
Yeah,
and so the carrier is the dissolved salts
or
mainly.
your impurities,
and it's those that conduct the electricity.
So
not the water.
Yeah, because in the diagram that he gave, wait, let's have a little butchers at this. In this diagram, he's not. A lot of people only think that water is H2O, but there's no reference in his little diagram of H and O molecules.
Well, there doesn't need to be.
H2 and O2 molecules.
There doesn't need to be.
The water in this diagram is totally separate, isn't it? It's independent.
Independent. It just carries the impurities.
Or it's a medium in which the impurities can exist and flow and move to their respective electrodes.
Absolutely.
Because it's the impurities, in this case probably dissolved salts, that conduct the electricity.
Absolutely.
Of course, not the water. The water is totally independent of the whole process.
Yeah.
But even though the diagrams are abstract and they don't represent real chemistry, according to this guy, what the guy's saying is it's supposed to the flame is supposed to be conductive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because I couldn't work out when he started talking about gases.
How the water relates to gases.
Well,
and really how the gases relate to his demonstration.
And how the gas relates to a plasma.
How the gas relates to a plasma.
Because anyone would think that a plasma is a gas.
Well,
and yet how can a plasma be a gas when... have you ever known of lightning to be a gas?
Oh, could he be saying that the plasma is electricity?
Don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we need to
do some investigation.
We need to do some investigation. Absolutely.
You can be very intelligent and very good at what you do, and you can still be stupid.
Yes. Yeah, well. Yeah, of course. Well, we're back again. Annoying people when they have views and opinions because
a lot of people, loads of people, really dislike hearing other people's views and opinions. It's a bit like if Elon Musk was talking to a flat earther.
Absolutely, of course.
He'd just walk away because he didn't want to hear a flat earther's opinion.
Yeah, or if you had a Liverpool supporter in a whole stadium filled with Manchester United supporters.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, that wouldn't go down well. It's surprising how much division there is in human beings, that they don't get on. They're filled with intolerance of each other.
No. Well, can you imagine it if you're a Tory in Scotland?
Oh, a Tory in Scotland, absolutely. Oh, yeah, that must be nasty.
Yeah, it must be nasty. See, it can work the
A
other
bit
way.
like Dracula in Daylight.
Yeah, basically, it can work the other way, can't it? It's crazy, all these divisions with people. Yeah, they don't need to be because we're all the same.
Or a non-religious person in a church.
Oh, right.
Absolutely, of course. I mean, can you imagine someone like you or I who aren't religious, and all of a sudden we're thrown into a mosque and we're having to pray 5 times a day?
Hello.
I mean, no way. Or even in a Christian church, reading the Bible. Okay, for punishment, you've got to do Bible study.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
It's crazy, but there you go. We're living in man's insane, crazy world. Absolutely, where the people in it are literally insane. Absolutely. And I say that with a lot of confidence.
And conviction. Even though a lot of the people wouldn't agree that they're insane.
Absolutely. I was told today, actually, I was saying, somebody said to me that you should go and live in Italy. They're like that over in Italy, where they consider other people just to be insane.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, instead of
people in the country or other people outside.
Well, people in the country, well, anyone.
Yeah,
they have the general. Instead of being nasty to people, just accept that they've got mental health problems.
Absolutely.
I mean, if somebody goes to run you over accidentally because they don't see you, for example, you know, and they get let's start again. You're walking across the street, okay, and all of a sudden a car driver drives the car, not seeing you, just whacks you, okay, and you fall over. Okay, they stop the car. Brakes on, gets out the door, rushes to your aid, and you say to them, "What on earth did you do that for?" And they say to you, "Oh, ever so sorry about that." Yeah. Oh, I'm ever so sorry about that. I just didn't see you. I didn't see you crossing the road.
Yeah.
You know. Now, someone like myself would think that person's got mental health problems because they obviously have got mental health problems to do anything, because they're obviously not focused on what they're doing, driving the vehicle.
Absolutely.
Maybe they were on their phone. Maybe they were chatting to someone, a passenger in the vehicle. Maybe they were eyeing a bird up walking down the road. You know, oh, she's got nice boobs, isn't she? You know, but they've got problems because they're not focused on what they're doing. They're not living in the here and now.
And they're not showing any consideration for other people.
That's the main thing,
Only
of course.
Themselves.
And care. Due care
and attention.
And attention for other people.
There should be due care and consideration.
Whereas other people may be just nasty towards them and swear at them and, you know, be vindictive and all this lot. Whereas, you know, someone like me, I'll just think that they've got mental health problems. And what do you expect when you're living in a society where the vast majority of people around you, okay, have mental health problems?
That's because they're not educated at school to be considerate towards other people.
Absolutely. What do you expect? We're living in a literal nut house. Aren't we, really?
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely. And the only sanity...
We were born into
a literal nut house. And the only sanity one can ever find in life is in your own home.
Absolutely.
When you're on your own.
Absolutely.
Because even the people around you in your own home can drive you mad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pitiful. But there you go, that's the state of affairs.
Anyway, come
and
on.
it's Christmas time as well, which makes it even worse for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But what have we got on for everyone's displeasure for tonight, Peter?
Well, for everyone's displeasure, because this one is going to be, we're going to introduce a new term that we've come across, or we've thought of, and which is fabricationism.
Fabricationism, absolutely.
A new way of understanding the developed world.
Man's world
And in our opinion, a lot of it
is fabricated. Yeah, a lot of it, probably, off the top of my head, over 90% of it is fabricated.
Absolutely. But anything to do with the natural world is fabricated.
Is fabricated. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's fabricated. Yeah.
So we're gonna present to people some information about that and our thoughts on this new way of understanding
Absolutely.
the world we live in.
The world we live in, absolutely, of course.
We're going to have a look at beryllium, which many people think is an element or is a metal that comes from the element or that comes from beryl.
Beryl, the mineral.
Not beryl reed.
Absolutely.
Or beryl streep. Oh no, sorry.
Beryl streep.
Merrill, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Merrill
I've been
streep,
trying to
isn't
think of some other beryls, but I can't think of any.
Yeah, can you think of another beryl?
Yeah, if you can think of a beryl, just leave us a comment below and let us know which beryl you're thinking of.
So we're going to have a look at that. We're going to revisit the Haber process because we've found some more information.
Which supports our view on fabricationism.
Absolutely, because we keep finding this information, which is we'll cover that.
Says it all.
And we'll visit the video at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Because that guy at the beginning in his video puts across that a flame is the conductive.
Yeah, the plasma. So when we look at the states of
matter
or
states of being,
the lamestream's states of matter, as Nora would say.
Oh, well, as Nora
of course.
would call it, lamestream.
We've got solids, we've got liquids, we've got gases, and we've got plasma, as well as the Einsteinian mates or whatever they're called. I don't know, but they're just rubbish anyway. But the plasma is another state of matter.
Absolutely.
Or in our sense, it could be regarded as a state of existence along with metals.
Oh, right,
because a metal is a state of existence.
Absolutely.
Along with a liquid or a gas.
And if you were a piece of sodium metal, you wouldn't want to be in existence as a metal.
You wouldn't want to be in that existence.
It's a bit like being
so you want to fight your way out of that existence.
It's a bit like
a bit like a flat earther trying to run away from and escape the globe society.
Or a world war has been captured.
A prisoner.
POW.
Prisoner
of war, and he's trying to escape.
Absolutely, of course.
Just like sodium metal is trying to escape its existence.
Its existence, absolutely, of course. The reality.
Yeah, the reality.
Well, that's very much like a lot of people who think the Earth is a spinning ball.
Well, that's why they watch TV. To escape.
To escape, absolutely. So many people want. Maybe what we should do is we should go around selling bars for people's windows.
Oh right, yeah.
Now that's a great idea.
To make them think.
To make them think that they are prisoners in their own home,
and they need to escape.
And they need to escape.
Oh,
so then they're more likely to dream up all of these fantastical kind of ideas, like gravity.
Oh right. Yeah.
The solar system.
Oh right, no, that's a good idea.
Space.
I reckon we should start marketing those. Can you imagine it on every window? We could
put bars.
Bars.
Even if they're made out of kind of like
cardboard
or something that's durable in the plastic.
Yeah,
they could be
plastic.
just made out of plastic.
Plastic.
Because the weather wouldn't degrade them so much if they're made out of plastic.
Well, they could be on the inside anyway.
They could be on the inside as well. Yeah. We could put a double layer, put them on the inside and on the outside.
And just think of all the jobs we can create.
Double barring.
Installing all the...
We can make a national company.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get barred in your own home. Absolutely, of course.
Well, anyway, come on, let's go.
So let's get on. And
because we do have some demonstrations that we've done that supports our view for the flame not being conductive.
Not being conductive, absolutely, of course.
We've got that served for people, so let's get on.
So dun 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 dun. Right, okay. So where should we go first then, Peter?
Oh, I do have to say that many thanks for all those people who have left some great comments on our previous video, saying that the content of the channel is really good.
Is it? Oh, yeah, I'm beginning to like this channel as of late.
Yeah. So we do thank people for those.
Absolutely. But the thing is that once you start realising that man's developed world is just a lot of it is just a fabrication, and man can never come to truly know nature and all this kind of stuff. Just like the flat Earth, there's no going back.
Absolutely,
you don't go back, and you see things in a very clearer way. Everything around you is so much clearer. It's unbelievable because a lot of the bullshit has been pushed away. And then just like that.
Then you can know for certain when you are talking to people
whether they're full of shit or not.
Whether they've got mental health problems.
Whether they've got mental. You can identify people with mental health problems more readily.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Of course.
Go on,
so the first thing up is what? What should we do? What should we do?
Let's go on. I'm trying to think. Let's go on the Haber process. There we go.
The Haber process.
Haber.
Now we've had a look at this very important process within the chemical industry with regard to ammonia, the production of ammonia and nitric acid. All of the nitrates for fertilizers and so on in the previous videos that we've done. But
when we first started looking at Haber, because we looked at this a couple of years ago, I think.
A few years ago,
It was a bit felt a bit complicated.
Well, we only dipped in our toes at a shallow level.
But we came out of it and we've gone into it and we've got a better understanding. And because we consider there's no nitrogen in the air, we actually consider now that nitrogen is a ghost element.
It's a ghost element. It's a ghost substance. It's a ghost gas. In other words, it's a generic in our understanding. It's a generic term for a gas that shows characteristics of nitrogen.
Basically, yeah.
So it can be made any old how, as long as it's not from a salt acid reaction.
Basically,
okay, because then you produce your carbon dioxide or even sulfur dioxide. Okay, so excluding those, if it's produced any other way, it's nitrogen,
and it puts out flame. Doesn't support life.
And it puts out extinguishes flame. It's nitrogen. There you go. So it doesn't need to be produced by nitrate, for example. It doesn't need to be produced by this reaction or that reaction. It can be produced by any reaction. So it is nitrogen.
So in some ways, it would be better to describe it as being a nitrogenous air.
Nitrogenous
not
air
nitrogen.
Absolutely, of course.
Because if by calling it nitrogen, you're saying it's an element, and we go no. It's a nitrogenous air. But anyway,
absolutely, because
we found some more information about the Haber process,
which supports our view of even fabrication. That man fabricates a lot of his substances, a lot of his chemicals, and a lot of his education surrounding the air constituents, being nitrogen, allegedly. Sorry.
So we showed a diagram.
So we showed a diagram, which I believe isn't that one, but it's this one here. Now, this is just a brief schematic of what goes on in the Haber process. And the in-feed gases, which are on the top left here, are N2H2, so nitrogen and hydrogen. So they're telling you that nitrogen comes from the air, and hydrogen obviously comes from another source. It goes into a compressor, catalyst beds, blah, blah, blah. And they're reacted together to condense back into a liquid, which is ammonia, NH3.
They're able to combine the nitrogen and the hydrogen.
Oh, that's a better way of putting it. Absolutely, of course. And it will condense, into ammonia, right? Now, it was our view in a few videos ago that the nitrogen is just air.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the feed gas. It's just air.
Yeah,
so you get hydrogen and air. Okay.
Because a lot of people would say, well, of course there's nitrogen in the air because they get the nitrogen from the air to put into the Haber process.
Whereas we think that they don't put nitrogen in the Haber process; they put in air.
So let's have a look at a much better schematic of the whole entire
process from start to finish,
Finish.
because that is only the second part, isn't it?
Absolutely. Come on.
Which is not good, I'm afraid. So we're on here. This is the good bit.
There we go.
Here we go. Now we can clearly see. Now this is a schematic of the whole process from start to finish.
So the diagram that we showed people before, is on the right hand side of this diagram.
Yeah, it's the production of ammonia. Whereas they miss out, or they omit the production of the synthesis mixture, which is your nitrogen and hydrogen.
Synthesis,
syngas, which goes into your production of ammonia.
Fabregas. Isn't he a footballer?
It's a Fabregas, yeah, I suppose. Fabregas. They should call it Fabregas. Yeah. So in the pink in the top left hand corner, we've got methane, okay, and water going into your primary reformer. Now that is obviously your steam reformation process, because for them to make hydrogen gas, they get methane gas and they strip it using steam at very high temperatures, reacting down these tubes with nickel catalysts.
Very high temperatures.
High temperatures, and basically the steam cleanses the methane, and you're left with a gas called hydrogen.
Well, because you and me haven't really covered that process in depth, but it could actually be that it thins it out.
Yeah, it could actually just thin it out, but you don't know what methane's like, because they may use natural gas.
Yeah.
Not methane, but they may use natural gas.
Yeah.
And water.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, this is the bit where they kind of skew people. This is why so many people are so confused over what they're doing, because they're not very clear as to what they are doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, so you get your hydrogen gas, which comes out of your primary reformer, and you get an air feed coming in. Just air, that's all it is.
Right.
Air.
Nothing else.
Air feed going in, and then your hydrogen and air feed go into your secondary reformer. Okay, and then they go into your CO conversion, okay, where water is added to the catalyst, okay, at 500 degrees centigrade, and it then goes through that into a compressor. It all gets compressed, goes down, and then into your scrubber, which is a washing tower. We think it's probably filled with some sodium hydroxide,
possibly, yeah,
in order to get rid of the
CO2,
carbon monoxide,
or
carbon dioxide. Doesn't matter. Okay, and more water is added. Okay, to flush out the CO2. The main synthetic mixture then goes through the compressor, and then goes into a preheater. It's heated, and then it comes out of there, then to go into your reactor. Now we're on to the production of ammonia.
Right.
And
before that process, it's all done under pressure as well.
It's all done. Well, but even this production of ammonia, all of this whole system is under pressure. Is a pressurized system throughout the whole process. So it goes into your reactor. You've got your iron catalytic beds, okay, which are filled with oxides. Yeah, filled with oxides. 450 degrees centigrade, 300 bar, which is quite high pressure.
I thought it was higher than that.
Well, it says here 300 bar.
Oh, right.
300
sorry,
bar.
yeah. I'm thinking of the PSI, because that's about 2,000 PSI.
Was it 2,000 PSI? Now,
2,000
that's
PSI.
high pressure, those. Yeah. And out of the top, you get your gas stream coming out, which is then cooled surrounded by water, and it goes down into a cooler, cools it down even more, and then you get liquid ammonia collected at the bottom. And any gas that's remaining gets fed back, pumped back into your preheater to then recycle back into your reactor.
So our point with the process on the left with the syngas, and that's in the diagram we showed before. It says the N2 was coming in, and the H2 was going into to make ammonia. Whereas when we look at the syngas production, we can quite easily tell that the processes that the air is going through will make that air
Nitrogenous.
Nitrogenous, in that it won't support life and it won't support a flame.
Absolutely, of course.
Solely because of the processes the air is passing through.
True, absolutely. And obviously they're starting with natural gas and not methane.
Absolutely.
And they're not really starting from hydrogen.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but one of the things that is worth pointing out about the whole process, and that is simply that there is water present throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
There's water present. So it's unsurprising that the gases, when they come out of the this one here, which is your heat exchanger, okay, the gases that come out and then into your cooler, it's unsurprising why they can condense to form a liquid called ammonia, because there is water present. Yeah, get it? Water can never be created or destroyed, can only change from one form to another. Throughout much of this process, it's a gas, but then the water can condense into a liquid because it's going through a cooler.
Yeah, so yeah, but
Makes sense to me.
But this is a great example of fabricating.
So, absolutely, of course.
Fabricating a synthetic gas, because
Nobody knows what ammonia is.
because they used to make ammonia from bones, wasn't it?
Bones, something like that.
Ox bones.
Ox bones, and mix them with, was it hydrochloric acid?
Could be, yeah. But they can't mass produce it.
They can't do that.
Can't mass produce
So
it.
they've synthesised.
So they're synthesized.
But they still don't know what the ammonia gas was to begin with.
That's why they're only looking at the characteristics.
They're only looking at characteristics and trying to copy those.
Yeah. So we need to create a gas that doesn't support life and doesn't support a flame.
Or a liquid that can do this. You know,
Yeah, basically.
where we can get a nitrate from.
Yeah. And this is all our understanding of man fabricating
His understanding. Fabricating
products.
Fabricating reality, essentially.
Yeah,
isn't it?
basically.
But
because there's no nitrogen in the air.
and this,
None
to
whatsoever.
be fair, when we do look at this Haber process from the very start to the very finish, we begin to realise that it is one big fabrication, and none of it actually goes to show that nitrogen exists as a constituent of air at all.
Yeah.
None of it does.
Yeah.
So there we go. And
Yes,
it does
yeah.
support our view that nitrogen is not a constituent of the air.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I can't see how anyone can disprove that our position.
So
If
yeah,
you're
but-
brave, then
but-
feel free to leave a comment, and
Yeah, but this
But-
process, the natural gas that this process undertakes or uses is 1% of the world's production of natural gas.
absolutely, yeah, 1% of all natural gas goes into the Haber process.
To make your
1%
fertilizers.
to make your fertilizers. Absolutely, this is such an important process within the chemical industry, globally or
Yeah.
worldwide,
And-
earthwide.
Yeah, and the thing is, this has been going for nearly 100 years,
This has been going for nearly 100 years. Absolutely.
and they can't think of any other way.
Absolutely, of course, yeah. So, how successful is this?
Absolutely.
You know,
Anyway, come on.
absolutely. So, thanks ever so much for that. That wraps us up with the Haber
Yeah,
process.
because now we have a much better understanding of nitrogen. We
Nitrogen.
have a much better understanding of how it is fabricated.
How it's fabricated, and basically, absolutely, because nitrogen essentially could be any kind of gas, couldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that it doesn't
Basically.
have. Yeah, who knows what it is?
Anyway, come on.
Absolutely. But so that's that out of the way. What's the next one then, Peter?
Well, let's have a look at beryllium.
Beryllium. Now, beryllium. Now we ended up going on. We've covered a number of elements. Well,
Products.
alleged
Oh, right.
elements.
Yeah, 'cause
haven't
the only metal that we've come across that is a metal is tin.
Yeah, the only metal that we've come across that actually exists as a metal in its native form is tin.
Yeah.
So we could safely say that tin is an element.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Tin is an element. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
One.
Amazing.
We've got one. So you can go down, dig a tunnel, and you can mine for tin and actually find a piece of tin.
tin metal. Yeah.
You can actually do that. Amazing. Whereas a lot of this other stuff, you can't do that.
You can't find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, beryllium.
But beryllium. Beryllium is a chemical element with the symbol Be and atomic number 4. It is a relatively rare element in the universe, allegedly, usually occurring as a product of the spallation of larger atomic nuclei that have collided with cosmic rays.
Okay, well that's a complete fabrication.
Complete fabrication, of course. All that's just
But
rubbish.
we always have to remember that when they use the word universe, all they're relating it to is the Earth plane.
Everywhere.
The Earth plane. That's all they're
The
relating.
Earth plane.
Not these far distant galaxies and beyond.
Or far distant lands, even.
Yeah, basically. Anyway,
just,
come on.
but blah, blah, blah. We don't need to read. It is a divalent element which occurs naturally only in combination with other elements in minerals. Right, okay. Okay, that sounds a bit of a double negative, doesn't it, really? Notable gemstones which contain beryllium include beryl and chrysoberyl. As a free element, it is a steel, grey, strong, lightweight and brittle alkaline earth metal.
Right, okay, now.
Here we are, just going to... I've got here's the picture of... this is beryllium, apparently.
Have a very close look at this.
Inspect this diagram, or this picture, with scrutiny.
Yeah, because we could ask you, the viewer, can you notice anything striking? You know when someone first shows you an image and something comes into your head?
Absolutely.
What comes into your head when you look at this image?
Absolutely. No,
beryllium?
and don't say Stonehenge. No. Okay? But, of course, have a good look at this, and we'll obviously get back to that later on. But if we go back, blah, blah, blah.
Hold on, it's a member of the alkaline earth metals.
Earth metals.
The alkaline earth group metals, which is in the periodic table of products, along with magnesium,
calcium, strontium, barium and radium.
Now, the reason why we're looking at beryllium and not any of the others is because beryllium is different to all the others.
In the regard,
and that is beryllium shares a very close affinity with oxygen, which makes it, in our understanding, water. Well, it makes it highly resistant to corrosion by water.
Absolutely, of course. Whereas the other materials, the other metals, are less corrosive.
No,
less
can easily be corroded.
Resistant. Less resistant. Less resistant. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Of course.
So let's go and have a look at how beryllium is fabricated.
Is absolutely made.
Because we're going to start using this word
fabricated. The extraction of beryllium from its compounds is a difficult process due to its high affinity for oxygen at elevated temperatures. Now, we should all know that if a substance contains a lot of oxygen, it is resistant to water. It is resistant to decomposition by water. That, I would imagine, we can safely state as a fact.
Yeah, although like magnesium contains oxygen, but that can still...
Magnesium contains oxygen.
But the oxygen helps it to continually burn in water.
Absolutely, of course, yeah. But it's still resistant. Magnesium, if you put a strip of magnesium in water and left it there, it could last a long time without corrosion, being corroded by water. Whereas
calcium,
for example,
you just got to put it in there.
That's because calcium doesn't contain a lot of oxygen.
Absolutely.
It contains more hydrogen than oxygen. Okay, but beryllium has even more oxygen present in it. Okay. And its ability to reduce water when its oxide film is removed. Right, okay. Whatever. The United States, China and Kazakhstan are the only three countries involved in the industrial scale extraction of beryllium, or production of beryllium. Beryllium production technology, see there we go, notice it goes from extraction then on straight on to production. Is in its early stages of development in Russia after a 20-year hiatus. Beryllium is most commonly extracted or produced from the mineral beryl, which is either sintered using an extraction agent or melted into a soluble mixture.
So it's either sintered or melted.
Yeah, absolutely. The sintering process involves mixing beryl, the mineral beryl, with sodium fluorosilicate and soda at 770 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, to form sodium fluoroberylate.
Berylate, aluminium oxide, and silicon dioxide.
So because one source of beryl is an emerald.
Is emerald, absolutely emerald.
So imagine you had an emerald. So you have an emerald gemstone,
which is here.
and you can then crush it down, and then you can mix it with sodium
fluorosilicate,
Yeah, if you
which is here.
no, if you go back to where you were,
they're beryllium.
so
Sodium
which is
fluorosilicate.
sintered using an extent. The sintering involves
Sodium fluorosilicate.
mixing emerald, crushed emerald, with sodium fluorosilicate
Silicate and soda.
and sodium carbonate
Absolutely.
to form
Sodium fluoroberylate, aluminium oxide, and silicon dioxide.
Now, one thing we have to remember, and that is the sodium, as everyone should know, can be a metal.
Sodium can be a metal, absolutely, of course. And we've also got to bear in mind that there is a certain amount of fluorite present.
Absolutely.
And everyone should know that fluorite is a green substance.
yeah.
And here's an image of fluorite.
Yeah.
Fluorite does look very similar to emerald in the sense that they're both green.
Because with an emerald, they say that the emerald gets its colour from trace amounts of chromium and sometimes vanadium.
So this one's beryllium, this is emerald, and this is fluorite.
Right.
Notice the difference,
Yeah.
or the similarities, I should say.
Yeah, similarities. Yeah.
Of course.
So we would disagree that the colour of emerald comes from chromium. We would disagree with it.
Yeah,
And we would say that it's more of the fluorite.
absolutely, because it says actually, did it say here? I can't remember where we got the page from. Oh, do apologise. Yes, I need to go back here. Yeah, it says coloured emerald is a gemstone and a variety of the mineral beryl,
Yeah.
coloured green by trace amounts of chromium and sometimes vanadium. Well, how can it be sometimes vanadium?
Yeah, no, and vanadium's yellow.
Vanadium is yellow, pale yellow colour. Absolutely. And chromium, I mean, what colour is chromium?
You tell me.
Absolutely, of course. We're trying to find out what chromium actually is.
But let's have a. But if you look at the formula there,
But the formula of beryl is Be3Al2 SiO3 6.
wow.
Wow, awful lot there. But anyway, let's go back to the recipe. Okay,
So the rest of the fabrication.
to the fabrication method. So we've got sodium fluoroberylate. Now, what they're wanting is beryllium hydroxide. That's what they want to achieve. So beryllium hydroxide is precipitated from a solution of sodium fluoroberylate and sodium hydroxide in water. So they get the sodium fluoroberylate and they mix it with sodium hydroxide in water. Okay, and then they would get beryllium hydroxide as precipitated out in the solution. The extraction of beryllium using the melt method involves grinding beryl. So that was the sintering process.
Yeah, that was sintering. Yeah.
Okay, so they've got beryllium hydroxide. Okay, now the extraction of beryllium using the melt method.
The sintering process would heat up the emerald stone.
Yeah,
gemstone.
yeah. But what they should have said in this paragraph is beryllium is most commonly extracted from beryllium hydroxide or is manufactured from beryllium hydroxide. Beryllium hydroxide can be made in two ways, by either sintering, by using a sintering process, or a melt method.
Yeah,
That's what it should read, really, to make it easier to understand. Extraction of beryllium using the melt method involves grinding beryl into a powder, like your emerald.
But they do that on both processes.
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
They do it on both processes.
Grinding it into a powder and heating it to 1650 degrees centigrade.
Toasting.
The melt is quickly cooled with water and then reheated to 250, 300 degrees centigrade
heat.
in concentrated sulfuric acid,
Oh,
another source of oxygen,
absolutely.
mostly yielding beryllium sulfate and aluminium sulfate. The aqueous ammonia is then added to remove the aluminium and sulfur, leaving beryllium hydroxide. So where they get the hydroxide from, I don't really know.
Don't know.
Because I reckon the beryllium hydrate that's left would have to be hydroxide would have to be prilled.
Have to go through the prilling process, like your sodium hydrate
Hydrox
from
your
the
chloralkali process,
which then goes on to be
Absolutely.
manufactured into sodium hydroxide.
Yeah, you see, they're not telling you the whole story. They're only telling you snippets, which makes you feel really confused. And you need to get a look at the whole process for you to fully understand.
But they want people to think that beryllium is an element.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
So, but it's so easy
Anyway,
to
go on.
fool people or to get people thinking in
Come
a
on, let's
certain
go.
way. But anyway, we've now reached our product of beryllium hydroxide. So beryllium hydroxide, created using either the sinter or melt method, is then converted into beryllium fluoride or beryllium chloride. To form the fluoride, aqueous ammonium hydrogen fluoride is added to beryllium hydroxide to yield a precipitate of ammonium tetrafluoroberylate, which is heated to 1000 degrees centigrade. More heat to form beryllium fluoride. Heating the fluoride to 900 degrees centigrade with magnesium forms finely divided beryllium. An additional heating to 1300 degrees centigrade creates the compact metal. Heating beryllium hydroxide forms the oxide, which becomes beryllium chloride when combined with carbon and chlorine. Electrolysis of molten beryllium chloride is then used to obtain the metal. There we go. Dum, 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 dum.
So it's as if there's two ways to produce it.
And then they use an electro-winning process in order to refine the beryllium into a metal.
Yeah, but it seems there's two ways in order to make the metal. You can get the fluoride, beryllium fluoride, or beryllium chloride.
Yeah, but the fluoride, you'd still need to electrolyse it, I'm sure.
Who knows?
Who knows? You do with the chloride, that's for sure.
Well, no, I reckon that there's only one general way in which they actually manufacture this.
I think so too, absolutely.
And I reckon it's probably the last one.
Well, I reckon probably
because we only have to look at the product.
You need the hydro. They need the hydro. Oh, sorry, yes, because once they've got the hydroxide, what they could do is they could heat the hydroxide, and then you can combine that with carbon and chlorine.
Possibly.
But then it could be the fact that you could get beryllium hydroxide and you could actually electrolyse that and you'll get the metal.
Absolutely, like you can with sodium.
Like you can with sodium hydroxide.
But anyway,
who knows?
One thing that's very important here, and that is the reason why beryllium is so resistant to decomposition by water, is simply because of the amount of oxygen it contains, and it contains a lot of oxygen because
so the heat processes that it
goes
goes
through.
through.
Processes.
You know, we're talking 1000 degrees centigrade, 900, 1300, 1650 degrees centigrade, and this information doesn't tell you how long the heating actually takes
place
at each stage. Doesn't tell you. So it could be these substances could be heated for long periods of time. 5, 6 hours, 10 hours.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So in our incident, this is the reason why beryllium is so resistant
to water. Absolutely, of course.
And there's also one other thing. And that's when we go back to the image of beryllium,
which would be this one here.
Yeah. Now the first thing.
Now we'll go back. We asked everyone earlier.
What's the first thing that came into your mind when you saw this
Absolutely.
image?
Well, I'll tell you what the first thing that came into my mind when I saw this image, and that is this material, this substance, this metal contains a lot of carbon.
Yeah.
Because that would explain and account for the very dark black colouring to it.
Yeah, because this is an alkaline earth metal, which is in the same group as magnesium, which is in the same group as strontium, radium,
barium,
calcium. Now, I know magnesium doesn't look like this.
Doesn't look like this at all.
Magnesium looks much lighter.
Much lighter in colour.
Which means it has less
carbon.
Oh,
well, it may not have any carbon.
Well, it must have something that can.
It's got to have something. It's got to have something there to bind things
to
together.
Help bind it.
To help bind it together. Yeah, but you can clearly see that this is heavily laden with carbon.
And this is why we think, again, why it's resistant to water.
And the carbon, could have been gained through the electrolytic process
yeah.
where they're using carbon electrodes and even a carbon anode and cathode.
Yeah, like they do with aluminium.
Very similar to what they do with aluminium. And, so beryllium being an element, no way. It's a product, it's been fabricated.
In our view, making beryllium metal is getting your emerald, your gemstone, crushing it down, and then using your metals that you can rely on, like magnesium or sodium, as to then add the beryllium to it, basically. So really, you're emeraldizing sodium metal, or you're emeraldizing magnesium metal.
Yeah, basically. I mean, when you think about it, beryllium isn't that popular. I mean, it's only from the information we've looked at, it's only manufactured in 3 countries, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
But so it's more than possible that they don't synthesize beryllium, but they do make it from the mineral beryl, or from these kind of gemstones.
Yeah.
Okay, they do use it.
No, they add the gemstones.
Or they add the gemstones
mix.
to the mix. Yeah, of course. But it's possible. But without these, they can't make the beryllium. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. Well, whether they get to a point where they can synthesize it and not use these at all, and still make beryllium, or a metal that would be like beryllium, that could be palmed off as beryllium. It's quite feasible.
But it's got a few uses, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the things that I felt was quite interesting about when we look at the uses of it is simply that if we look at this, well, I've just got to find where I read it, blah, blah, blah.
It's got
Yeah,
thermal.
I think it was there. Oh yeah, in structural applications, the combination of high flexural rigidity, thermal stability, thermal conductivity and low density make beryllium metal a desirable aerospace material for aircraft components, missile spacecraft and satellites. Right, okay.
Okay.
But we've got to bear in mind that beryllium has a very high melting point. Its melting point is 1287 degrees centigrade. Okay, it can withstand high temperatures, so it's suitable to be used in applications where you need where that are exposed to high temperatures. Blah blah blah. It's got here the high thermal conductivities of beryllium and beryllium oxide have led to their use in thermal management applications. When added as an alloying element to aluminium, copper, iron or nickel, beryllium improves many physical properties, and that's because of the oxygen content. In our understanding, oxygen is a substance that can strengthen the properties of a substance.
Yeah, basically.
It can make iron or steel stronger, for example.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So you could actually nickname beryllium as the oxygen metal.
The oxygen absolute tools made of beryllium copper alloys are strong and hard and do not create sparks when they strike a steel surface. Beryllium does not form oxides until it reaches very high temperatures. In other words, you've got to heat up beryllium to high temperatures in order for it to calogenate.
Basically, yeah.
Anyway,
Come on.
so because it can withstand all of these temperatures. And again, it's another substance that's been produced or fabricated.
Do you know, we've been going for nearly an hour.
Have we really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think we should continue on.
Let's continue on.
Let's continue on because I'm cool with it. I'm sure lots of people will be cool. I think we're on our last bit as well. Anyway.
No, because we've got to do the fabricationism and we've got to do the flame.
Let's carry on.
Let's carry on.
Let's carry on. Wow, this is so good. Anyway, right, okay. Well, I suppose we'll speed it up. Okay.
So there we go.
So that's beryllium. Okay, beryllium, another product on the periodic table. Okay, so we may as well go back to our main topic, and that is fabricationism, a new way of understanding the developed world. Now,
So
It's-
we thought that we needed to think up this kind of term, fabricationism,
absolutely, of course.
that covers man's
Our
manufactured world.
our understanding on how we perceive man's activities.
Yeah.
Okay, and what we see is it's all fabricated.
Yeah.
A lot of it, 90% of it, is all fabricated. Your education, the globe, the solar system, the galaxies,
Space.
the understanding of space, the universe, a lot of chemistry, a lot of physics, theoretical physics, a lot of religion, all religion,
Well, yeah,
all religion. A lot of this stuff, a lot of these areas in human life, in human societies, are fabricated. They're fabricated by men, by mankind. Okay?
Human beings.
Human beings.
Mm.
Because
Well, it's no different to reading a Barbara Cartland novel.
absolutely.
You know.
And that's how we perceive modern developed the modern man's modern developed world.
Yeah,
It's one big fabrication.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because man can never come to truly know nature. Man can never come to truly know the reality of life. All he can do is he can experience it. And that's it. He can observe life
Oh, 'cause
through
I-
his experiences.
I had a simile, didn't I? Or an analogy.
An analogy.
So imagine someone's a child. Say I'm a child, and I have two parents, mother and father, but I can't communicate with them, and they can't communicate with me. Yeah. But I can observe them. I can observe what they do.
You can
how
observe
they
their
interact
behaviour.
with one another, or whether
Yeah.
they don't interact with one another.
And with you as well.
And with me as well, I can see what they do. I can observe I can experience them, because that's what all I can do is just experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I can never come to know them as people, as human beings,
Yeah.
as a mother and
Father,
father.
absolutely. Well, as
I can
individuals.
never- as individuals, who are they?
Who actually are
What
they?
are they thinking of? How do they feel? Because
Absolutely.
they're not talking to one another,
Because but they're not telling you, are they?
and they're not telling anyone.
They're not telling anyone. So how can you ever come to know
know
them? That's a very good analogy to how human beings, mankind, can never come to know nature.
Well,
Because-
when you think about it, it's a good analogy to describe a lot of stuff that goes on in society.
A lot of stuff that goes on in society. Absolutely. We can never come to know it. We can never come to know what the sun is, what the moon is, what water is.
Yeah.
We can never come to know how a pebble on a beach
Got there.
got there. How did it get there?
Yeah.
We can never come to understand why is it that even though chalk is a very soft material, why is it chalk cliffs aren't eroding all over the coast, for example?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And why is it the grass on Beachy Head always remains grass
Oh, right, yeah. Hasn't
throughout? It's never been cut,
Oh, right, yeah.
but it always remains grass.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many questions about nature and our environment that we can ask that we can never ever come to know. So for a lot of people, like mankind in his societies collectively, they need to fabricate stories. They need to fabricate information. They need to fabricate an understanding in order to give comfort to the people within that society.
Yeah.
They think of the globe. They
Oh,
think
yeah.
of God. Because all of these things, they think of elements. They give people the impression
Space going travelling.
they give people the impression that man can conquer nature. Man can control nature. You know,
But he can't.
but he can't. It's all a fabrication.
It's only in his head that he can do it.
Absolutely. It's all a load of bullshit. Absolutely. All of it is
Yeah.
just rubbish.
So anyway, that's a new word that we're going to bring in to our
Absolutely.
videos, to our vocabulary, because we think it does epitomise
It epitomises
man's industrial world.
man's industrial world and beyond, man's education.
Yeah, all of it.
A lot of man's education, a lot of our education we're given is for fabrication.
Yeah.
That's all
so,
it is.
So human beings are fabricationists.
Absolutely, of course, because they like making things up.
And let's have a look at the definition of the word fabricate.
Oh yeah, let's have a little look at the word fabricate.
Fabricate.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Fabrication.
Or fabrication.
Fabrication. That's what you need if you want a society that's full of shit. And you don't like the reality that's in it. Whoa, yeah. Fabrication's what you need. If you want to be a fabricator, yeah.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Absolutely.
Come on, boy.
Fabrication. We've got the action or process of manufacturing or inventing something. And as we've seen with
Beryllium.
the Haber
Ammonia.
process,
Ammonia.
ammonia and nitrogen being a constituent of the air, it's all a fabrication. All of it is a fabrication. But there's another one, another definition, an invention or a lie. Now we all know that, or many of us should all realise that the Earth being a globe is a lie, essentially,
Yeah.
because it doesn't conform with the natural experience of the Earth.
So therefore it is a fabrication.
Absolutely. The natural experience tells us that the Earth is a level plane. It's a plane, Earth plane. Okay, so
that's the
given
reason.
that, the Earth being a globe has to be a lie.
Yeah, so that was one of the reasons why we use the word fabricationism, fabrication, because it does include a meaning of deception.
A meaning of deception, because when we go out into life, a lot of people do actually lie to us. This is a fact of life. Unfortunately,
Oh, come on.
not my fault, but
There we go.
But anyway, so that's it. Fabricationism. We will adopt that word and we will bung it in
Yeah. But
here,
let us
there,
know
and everywhere.
what you think.
Let us know what you think. Drop us a comment if you like it. If you don't like it,
Yeah.
then don't bother leaving us a comment.
Or
It's as
think-
simple as that.
Think up another word.
Think up another word. Absolutely, of course, because we'd
And
love
let
to
us know
hear
what
other people's views.
Absolutely. Think up another
Now,
word.
so on our last one, we've got to go back to our conductive flame, haven't we? The
Yeah.
video we saw at the beginning. Now, we had this guy. Okay, now the guy starts off.
Hi, YouTube.
Yeah, hi YouTube. The guy starts off, puts 2 electrodes in water, tap water from the tap,
Yeah.
not tap water, because it's not tap water, it's just water from a tap.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's telling people that it's conductive. Whereas in our understanding, it's just the impurities in the water from the tap, or in the water,
Yeah.
that conduct the electricity.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
not the water.
Because water is just a medium. for
Water's
things
just a medium for things to exist.
to exist in,
Absolutely, of course.
like human beings when they swim. Yeah.
Now he goes on from that little demonstration and to show two pieces of metal which are held very closely together, and he's heating up using a torch the ends of the metal. Okay, and when the heat is applied, there is a current that connects the circuit.
Yeah. But one thing we can't see is how close those metal strips are.
Yeah, we don't know how far they could be. This far apart, they could be that far apart, or they could be really, really close
Yeah.
together.
Because we can't see that.
Microns, if you know what I mean. So he gives us a little diagram.
That's
that-
abstract and not
that-
representative.
This
of
is
real
all from the
things.
imagination. How people have consensually accepted how things go on through an electrolysis process.
Basically, yeah.
All the negative goes to one, positive to the other, of your impurities, not of the water. Now, he applies that kind of understanding to what's going on between the two plates.
Well, he talks about a gas.
He talks about gas, he talks about molecules in the air. Okay.
Well, is he talking about in the air, or is he talking about?
He's talking about in the air.
Well, no, or is he talking about the flame?
No, he's talking about the air, and then the heat from the flame, or the flame, provides some stimulation to those molecules to then kind of like move around a bit more.
And then to release an electron.
To release electrons and all this kind of rubbish. Now, we think that understanding is absolute rubbish. It is absolute rubbish. And what we'll do, we'll leave this for the time being, and we'll go and have a little watch
So
about
let's watch what we've
what we did, because we can't go with the. He's got the title of the video is conductive flame. I like we're thinking. So you're telling me that a flame is conductive.
conducts
electricity.
So, yeah.
Right, okay. I can't get my head around that.
It's a bit like when people say that water of course water conducts electricity.
Yeah, it just bung 100,000 volts through it. Well, of course it will conduct. It's just ridiculous. But what we did was that we did a couple of things. This was the first thing we did, and this is we've got some
CO2 being produced in this jar from sodium bicarbonate and vinegar. CO2,
Acetic
in our
acid.
understanding, is a salt acid gas because sodium bicarbonate is a salt, and we're adding vinegar to it, which is an acid.
Absolutely, of course. And CO2 does not support combustion. Okay, that's the main thing you've got to bear in mind. So we've added the sodium bicarbonate. Okay, let's move this over. Hopefully, we'll show. There's the acetic acid.
70%.
Okay, so that's going to be popped in there with a syringe, pipette. Sorry, right there. There's the pipette. Adding the acetic acid in there. Okay, so we aren't generating CO2. And what we'll do is we'll put see lots of bubbles there.
Yeah,
It's great stuff. So
the good thing about using a very high percentage of an acid
here's the flame.
is that it doesn't effervesce a lot.
Absolutely. So the flame has gone out. It's extinguished. Now that demonstrates to us that there is CO2 there, or what people call is CO2.
Salt
present.
acid gas.
Salt acid gas. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to pass between the two copper ends, between the gap, we're going to pass an electric current of about 10,000 volts. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to see what happens to the plasma of the spark.
Oh right, yeah.
To see if the CO2 affects that.
Because that's what the guy said at the beginning in his video, and that's he likened the flame to
be conducting electricity and
lightning.
Lightning.
The flame is the lightning, and it's
lightning.
all the same stuff.
It's all the same stuff.
Plasma.
Yeah. Plasma. And okay, so it should affect it really because it puts out the flame.
Yeah.
The gas.
No, it puts out the plasma.
It puts out the plasma. Yeah, the plasma. The plasma is extinguished.
Yeah.
So there should be no plasma surrounding this electric spark.
Yeah. If
That's our logic.
yeah.
And we've got the spark going. Okay.
There we go. It's going.
We'll turn the light off so everyone can see. And the plasma is clearly visible.
It's still there, isn't it?
It's still there. Now, the only thing that we noticed changes over the duration is that as the CO2 is being, say, used up or spent, it changes colour, doesn't it?
Yeah, because there you can
It
see
starts off yellow, but then the spark changes colour to a blue. Am I right? Was it blue or purpley?
Well, no, we're looking at the aura
Oh,
around.
the aura around it starts off yellow, but then it turns purpley.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah, sure. But
Pinkish.
But the CO2 made no difference to the plasma of the spark. So, yeah, of course. But with the flame, with the natural flame, the plasma died out. It went. Okay. So that's number one.
Oh, you do put a splint in there again.
Yeah, I do put a splint in it sometimes just to show.
Right at the end.
Right at the end when we turn the lights on. There we go. We've still got it going. And I think here, we put a splint in just to show. There you go. That the CO2 had been spent.
Yeah.
Okay. CO2 totally gone. Okay. So that was our first little trial. Okay. Now our second one. Now what we've got here is that we did more or less the same as what the guy did in the video at the beginning. But what we did was that we used. We put the candle between the two pieces of metal.
What we've done is that we're putting an electric current through two strips of copper wire, and the copper wire is just barely touching each other. You can clearly tell just by touching them as you do here.
Just by tapping.
There you go. You
we've
get
got
connection.
We get a connection because we can see we've got connection from our power supply.
Oh.
And I don't think you're going to get it in view.
I don't think you're going to see that they're
touching.
Well,
the wires are touching. Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
you can
you
see
can.
it, yeah.
You can see that the wires are touching.
Yeah.
So I basically just tap them apart to break the circuit. Okay, we've got
Yeah.
you can see that there's a join. They are in
Oh,
contact.
right, yeah.
If I can, yeah, you can see there is a little fine line between those two wires.
There we go.
Okay.
If we zoom
but
out.
you can see there's connection. The power supply's gone red, and
Yeah.
our current is 4.53.
Okay.
Okay. So I tap them apart when we.
Yeah, I zoom out.
Oh right. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's fine. So
Let me zoom out.
I'm
Tap it
tapping
apart.
them apart. Wait for the red light to go off on the power supply. There you go. It's gone out. No contact. Contact's gone.
No conduction.
No conduction. Okay.
There you go.
And then I just tap it.
Conduction.
Conduction. So essentially, we're just making a very, very small gap between those two pieces of copper wire. Okay. And you can obviously tell what we're going to do. We're just going to light the candle underneath to see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because some people think that a flame conducts electricity.
So if
The flame
the flame
will
conducts
fill the gap.
the fill gap and conduct the electricity. Well, this is what the guy was saying in his video, was he not?
Yeah.
Or giving people, the viewers, the impression of that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we've got the flame going. Okay, got it under there. Okay, there we go. Was this one I accidentally tapped it when I was? Can't remember.
I can't remember. Oh yeah, because the flame was. I think we had a window open, so the flame was kind of.
Wafting over. So I lift the flame up because it's not high enough. There we go. And I think there you go. Look at that. There you go. Look at that. Now some people might say, well, there you go. Look, the flame's conducting the electricity. Some people would arrive at that conclusion.
But we wouldn't.
We wouldn't. Yeah, we wouldn't arrive at that conclusion at all because
you
there
gotta
are other factors, variables to take into account.
And can you think of another variable to take into account during this process?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I've knocked them there, didn't I?
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, that's. Ow!
Yeah,
I
but
know.
they sprung,
Everyone makes
but
mistakes.
it sprung back, so it's still connected.
Yeah, they're not connected now.
Oh, not now.
Not now. So they're not connected now. So I think we not put the.
We do it again, don't we? Because
we do it again.
because you clean the because we use the blowtorch. You see.
Yeah, because we were worried because the candle gives off a lot of soot, carbon, black shite,
Oh, which conducts electricity.
which conducts electricity, and we're thinking, well, that could be bridging the gap. That could be building up on the copper wires and actually bridging the gap, and voila, you've got conduction.
Your
Yeah.
bridge has been filled.
Absolutely, your circuit is now complete.
Oh.
So again, we've got conduction. So we end up.
Oh, hold on, because you take it or you do withdraw it. You withdraw the flame.
Yeah, the flame's in there, and there we go.
There we go.
You can see that it's being bridged. There's a small, fine piece between the two wires. When it's in focus, obviously. There you go. You can still see it there, really.
Yeah, go on, blow it out. There we go.
Excuse me. Yeah, I've had a busy day today.
So we're seeing whether or not it will go back down to zero because it's cooling.
Because it's cooling down. So let's wait. And I don't think it does it?
No.
So it's been about.
Yeah, because what we think is that the soot
It's
is
still there,
making
look.
it stick together.
It's over 30 seconds. It's nearly a minute. No, it's over a minute now. Yeah, it's well over a minute.
Yeah, I think what we came to the conclusion.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. There
We
we go.
came to the conclusion that it's the soot that keeps it together, stuck together.
Yeah, the salt basically
Soot.
bridges
The
the
soot.
soot or sorry, not the salt. Yeah, the soot or the black residue that's given off.
Yeah.
That basically bridges the gap between the wires. You get a build up and it connects the circuit, and then voila, So that was inconclusive to show that the flame conducts
electricity.
So we thought, well, let's try something else. Let's try our torch instead, because the candle's a bit dirty when it smokes. When
Yeah,
it's
because I
light.
think here I say we may as well just.
So we clean the wires up
Clean the wires up. Come on.
because they're rather black and horrible, as you can clearly see. So a bit of
Very
abrasive
delicately.
paper.
Come on, you might as well move it forward. 'cause
Let's
I
move
don't
it
think
forward,
people
otherwise-
really want to be
there you
watching.
go. What me clean the wires. So we're just setting it up again, getting these wires in the correct position,
in the right
in
position.
the right position. There we go. And we've got
There you go. Tap it.
just tap.
There
We've
we go.
got conduction.
Tap
There you go.
it
Just
back.
tap it back,
Goes off.
and it goes off. Okay, so we're all set up now to do it. So again, what we're expecting to see, if the flame conducts electricity, is with the flame on, we should get electricity being conducted with the flame
Well,
on.
there we go. Look.
And straight away, as we
Straight
can
away.
see, you know, it's
There you go.
it's pretty okay.
Got conduction.
We got conduction,
There you go.
so that's
Exactly the
pretty
same
okay.
as with the flame.
Exactly the same as with the candle.
With the candle flame.
Absolutely, of course.
Sorry, yeah.
So I'm just going to wait for this one here. Wait there. I don't know what did we do? Did we leave it for a
Well,
while?
what we do this time is that because
I'm just gonna move this
we have a view, our view on what's going on here is that when you apply heat to a metal,
Oh, we're leaving this to cool down as well,
Yeah.
aren't we?
when you apply heat to a metal, it expands.
Absolutely,
And
of
in
course.
our understanding, what's actually happening in this situation is that when you apply the heat, the copper pieces of copper are expanding, and it's that expansion that bridges that gap
Yeah, absolutely,
and
of course.
allows for the conduction.
Absolutely, yeah, of course.
So in some ways, it's got nothing to do with the flame; it's more to do with the heat.
Well, yeah. It's our understanding that the flame doesn't conduct electricity at all, because these wires were still conducting even when the flame was removed.
yeah, basically,
Absolutely, yeah. It's our understanding, very simply, that there's two reasons why these conduct when the flame or the heat is applied. Number one, as you've quite rightly said, the heat expands the materials, which bridges the gap. Okay. Number one. Number two, we've also got to think about that when these materials are being heated, they are thermally being decomposed. Okay. So you're obviously going to have bits of, say in this case, copper floating around the area that are being heated. And those impurities will also conduct electricity to bridge the gap.
just like they would do, the impurities would do in water.
Absolutely, of course. So when we go back to
So hold on, no. With this one, what we do here is that you connect them. So when you get a connection,
which is now,
you
I
tap.
make the gap bigger.
We make the gap bigger. See there, it's gone down to zero.
Down to zero, which means, yeah, because I've tapped it.
Did you?
Yeah, I tapped it open, I'm sure. Oh, no, I didn't, did I?
You didn't. Not on that one, no.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because what we did on this one, if you want to go back
Oh,
to when we
sorry, right.
set this up before.
Oh, this one here, wait there. Oh, there.
See
Oh,
now, look,
Right,
we're
on
starting from scratch. They're connecting.
They're
Now
connected.
you tap it.
Wait
You
there.
tap it.
I tap it.
You tap
and
it once to
the
break
circuit's
it.
broken. Okay, I'm just
Then
showing.
you tap it one to connect it. Then you
Okay.
tap it away.
Tap it back.
Tap it back.
We've broken it.
And now you tap it away a little bit more.
Wait there. I'm waiting for. There you go. And I'm tapping it away to make the gap between the two wires further apart. Make it wider. Make the gap wider. And then we apply some heat.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we should expect to see the circuit to
Well, conduction.
conduction. Absolutely. Of
Because
course.
the flame is filling that gap. It's only
Absolutely.
a small gap. But what we're saying is that you heat it up.
Yeah.
We get the connection.
We get the connection.
There we go. We got the connection.
We got the connection.
But when we let it cool,
When we let it cool,
they can't.
don't forget, absolutely, because the flame's already been withdrawn. Remember, the flame's already been withdrawn.
Yeah. When we get the connection, let it cool.
Let it cool down, the connection goes. Okay, let's just leave it for a little while. Only not long. Okay. Now this is clear case that essentially what's going on is the materials expanding, contracting due to the heat. You know, and also it's more than possible that materials are being thermally decomposed,
yeah.
and you're getting bits floating around that area. You know, and there's also
So
impurities.
you don't touch it there. We just leave it for a little
There's
bit
also
longer.
there's also impurities in the gas flame
There
as
you go.
well,
It's gone.
and it's gone. You know, it's gone back to the way it was.
There you
Okay,
go.
so you know, so when we do watch that video, and then we go back on to looking at the guy's video here, where he's heating up these two pieces of metal strips here, and he's saying that it's the flame invigorating the air molecules, breaking them down. You know, sorry, we can't go with that.
Well, and the title of the video. The title
And
of
the
the
title,
video
absolutely, the
is
title of the video is wrong.
Conductive flame.
Conductive flame. Come on.
In our understanding, the flame only provides the heat, and it's the heat that does all the magic.
It's the heat that does the magic. It's not the flame. Now, if you think we're wrong, okay, on this one, please leave a comment below. Tell us why you think we're wrong, and we will gladly follow it up. But as far as I'm concerned, it'd be very difficult to separate the flame from the heat. Yeah, get it?
Impossible.
Impossible. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So therefore, to put forward the view that it is the flame
And not the heat.
and not the heat is totally wrong. Whereas what we can do is we can just use heat to heat up some materials, and you'll get conduction. We don't need to use the flame. Now that would support the view, not the idea, but the viewpoint that it's just the heat and not the flame.
There we go.
So you know,
Marvellous, done it. There we go.
absolutely, this is conductive flame.
Yeah, rubbish.
There's so many videos on YouTube that send out the wrong message. That's because, as George,
It's all part of the fabrication.
it's all part of fabrication. And as George Harrison once said, we're bombarded with bullshit every day.
Absolutely.
Dum 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 dum. Absolutely. Anyway,
So let's get the thumb
that's
out.
it.
There
Of
we go.
course. Now that was a very long-winded. I think we've done.
And by the way, anyone's more than welcome to do these demonstrations at home.
Absolutely, of course. Anyway, there we go. There we have it. Thanks ever so much, and always remember till next time, if something doesn't make sense, like
Not the Earth being a spinning ball.
beryllium being an element,
Oh, right, yeah.
and a piece of beryl actually containing some
Beryllium.
Beryllium.
Oh,
I
right.
mean, would you be able to find it? I wouldn't.
Oh, because then you would think that it is an element then.
Absolutely. If you could actually find some beryllium in
Beryl.
piece of beryl, emerald or whatever, then you know that beryllium is an element.
Oh, right, yeah. But no, you can't find any beryllium.
You can't find
in
any
beryl.
beryllium. You've got to do this and do that. You've got to add this and add that and take away that. Add a bit of this, add a bit of that.
Fabricate
You've got to
it.
fabricate it, of course.
Just like, ammonia.
Just like your ammonia,
And
just
your
like
nitrogen.
and all of your
nitrogenous.
nitrates, all of your fertilizers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah. It's all
In
fabricated.
fact, most of your chemistry is all fabrication.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Anyway, it's all nonsense, of course. So thanks ever so much, and we'll see you next time.
Okay,
Bye.
ta-da.
The Earth isn't round, it's flat. How do you know? I've observed it in all my travels over Europe. It's flat. Everywhere it's flat.